Good evening, everybody. This beautiful Wednesday evening in Michigan. I think it is pretty much all across the state. And I want to just give a few seconds for people to join. It's an important day. I wanted to get on here and be able to explain to you what has transpired. I know some of you have heard, read, or certainly are joining in to get the background and the backstory details on where we are at in Secure My Vote. So, I'm glad, first of all, that you could all join. And I want to start out by saying that we, the people, are amazing. Our grassroots organization and organizations, honestly, many organizations across the state have participated in the Secure My Vote petition initiative, especially in these, I guess we could say, finally, spring months, the April, May, if we want to call it that. April, we know we had many winter months. We had snow in April. We had lots of rainy weekends and a lot of difficulty in time of people getting out and collecting signatures. I'm not using that as an excuse. It's just a fact. So today we had put down as a deadline or a goal for a deadline for Secure My Vote. I want to start out by explaining to you why. So if we had turned in the signatures and decided to submit today, it would have forced the Secretary of State to have reviewed the signatures in the next about 60 days. And if indeed we were verified, then it would go to the legislature and it would be enacted as law. It still wouldn't have affected anything in regards to the 2022 election, but it would have established all of these new regulations in regards to securing Michigan's elections for the future, and it would be enacted as law. And so we felt that we had to work towards that goal. As you know, we need 340,000 and some odd signatures in order that are validated, verified, if you will, in order for us to be able to move on through that process. Over the last several weeks, you've heard about fraud with some paid circulators and and overall, they have become more scrutinized in regards to signatures. I'll cover a little bit more in detail of the hypocrisy in a minute. But the point is that at needing 340,000, our goal, as it was with Unlock Michigan, was to get to 500,000 plus signatures. That is because it is really impossible. If indeed we've done our work, which has been done, the Secure My Vote people, just like the Unlock campaign, are actually reviewing the signatures as they come in, whether they are volunteer signatures or paid circulators. They are absolutely looking at them, making sure that there is a county and that everyone is identified under the county, making sure that it is signed by the individual who's circulating and that it's dated, the basic things that you would do. And those that don't fall into those categories are obviously pulled out of the signatures that we are going to submit. But what happens is, and what happened in the courts last week and again today, was that they do a random sampling of all of the petitions you have. So if you submit maybe 50 boxes, 100 boxes of petition sheets, they're going to randomly go through and pull out a handful from each of the boxes, and they're going to randomly look at hundreds, maybe a couple of thousand signatures out of several 100,000. And then they're going to simply do the math, which means that if they happen to draw the wrong ones and they end up scrutinizing them to the point where, oh, the date was this, or they doesn't match their signature on record, or they may not have put exactly where it is that they vote, or whatever the cause, then they simply pull those out as being invalid. At that point in time, they do the math and they say, we checked 1,000. There are 50 signatures we don't believe are good. Therefore, it is whatever the percentage might be. And then they do the math by what you have submitted. And therefore, it says, do you reach the 340,000 or you don't? In other words, they're not checking all the signatures. If they did, we would have submitted today. But the courts decided today in the Perry Johnson situation that they don't need to look at all the signatures. And the courts say that they can randomly look at signatures. They can also make assumptions based on the signatures that they happen to preview or review, and that they will indeed not step in and change that. So if we were to say they looked for bad signatures, and when they did the math that they knew would leave us short. That was the fear that we had because of what the media has done and what has happened in regard to these gubernatorial candidates' signatures over the last couple of weeks, which means that we decided to delay the submission. So, what exactly does that mean? It means simply that we are going to reach our goal of 500,000 signatures. Now, the question is, where are we? So I'm going to tell you where we are. We have counted in excess of 430,000 signatures that we have gathered that could have been submitted today. That is 90,000 more than is needed. So it was borderline because that means we would have needed to have in the neighborhood of 82% accuracy in order for us to achieve our goal. We do not trust necessarily that they're going to look at these fairly. Wonder why that would be. So, what we want to do is we want to get to our number, our goal of 500,000 signatures. Now, why do we think we can get there quickly? Simple, because only less than 2 months ago, we did not even have 200,000 valid signatures, and we now have 430,000 signatures. The mailing that was done, that was sent to households all across Michigan, 540,000 households, many of them are literally sending us emails right now saying, just got mine in the mail. There isn't a date on this, which means that we're going to encourage everyone who has petitions in their possession to fill them out, fill up those pages as best you can, put them in the envelope that's provided here, or mail them to the address that's on the bottom of the petitions. Send them in as soon as possible. I want to give you some numbers just to give you an idea of how incredible you all have been in the last few weeks. Just in the last week alone, we've received over 15,000 valid signatures from just the mailing coming back in those envelopes. We know that there are thousands and thousands that are probably in the Postal Service on their way back right now that were mailed last week. We also know that there's tens of thousands of people who have received their petitions, didn't notice that there was a date because there isn't a deadline date on these, and therefore they have them in their possession and are waiting to return them, or are already scheduling to return them. So the reason that we want to move forward with 500,000 is that at 500,000, even if they went to an 80%, guess what that gives us? 400,000. If they go to a 75%, it gives us 350,000. The idea behind this is that they are not going to find that, because we are indeed working on validating the signatures as they come in. They're being audited as they come in by the Secure My Vote team, have been throughout the process. We don't necessarily trust them if it's close, and therefore we're not going to let your hard work go to waste. We're not going to let all the things that you've done, all the work you've done, and all the volunteers, organizations, county chapters that have been out on weekends gathering these signatures, because it is vital as we enter especially the 2024 election cycle that voter ID, which is, by the way, favored by over 80% of all Americans, regardless of political affiliation. Over 80% of all Americans that have been polled believe that voter ID is important, regardless of what the media or what the Democratic Party or this governor would have you believe. And therefore, we know that whether this has gone to the legislature or goes to a ballot initiative, that indeed we will succeed in changing Michigan law and securing our elections for the future. We need your help. But we aren't done. Most of you didn't even know we were done, other than those that we said, hey, stop mailing, hand deliver. And guess what? You delivered over 5,000 signatures yesterday alone that came in. They came into the various hubs, or they came in through the mail just yesterday. We know that it's not going to take long for us to gather the additional 70,000 signatures, because we've seen what's happened over just the last few weeks. But we do believe that we need to be able to boldly go forward and to put the pressure on our Secretary of State to verify and validate these signatures. Now, the law states that they only have to do this. This would be a loophole in the law, imagine that, with our Secretary of State, who says that it cannot go on an off-year ballot. It's too late to go on a 2022 ballot. So therefore, we don't even have to look at these until 2024 if we don't want to. Now, what that would require of her would be to go against the will of over 500,000 citizens who have a right to initiate legislation. We're going to hang that around her neck like an albatross as we go through this summer. And as she runs for reelection, we're going to run campaigns on it if she chooses not to validate these signatures. And again, what we're going to do is make sure that we absolutely elect a House majority in the legislature in the Republican side on both the Senate and the House side, so that we know when these signatures are verified that we can immediately go to the legislature, enact the vote, and make this and enact this as law. It is vital that we go to the presidential election with these safeguards in place: no Zuckerberg money, no absentee applications at the tune of 7.5 million postcards being mailed unsolicited, that, by the way, signatures were not necessarily needed to be looked at. They were not needed to be verified. The Secretary of State specifically stated to the county clerks around Michigan that they did not need to verify the signatures on absentee applications. They also said that when the ballots were returned, they didn't need to verify those signatures either, because we needed to take into consideration the intent of the voter. Now, when it comes to our petitions, of course, the intent of the voter does not matter. The intent of the citizen does not matter. If you accidentally put in a wrong vote or a wrong zip code or whatever, we need to throw those out because they didn't follow the letter of the law. Well, guess what? We're going to take matters into our own hands, and we are going to enact this legislation as we are required and able to do as citizens. And we are going to replace the Secretary of State this November. And we are going to encourage her to do her job and to let the Board of Elections do their job to validate our signatures. And by the way, our electors, our legislature, Republican and Democrat, have already passed all of these measures, and every one of them have been vetoed by our governor. We're going to hang these around her neck as well. 80% of the people believe voter ID, Governor, and yet you have said you're interested in safe elections, but you vetoed that amendment. The media is complicit in all of this, and we know that we have to be way above and beyond anything they would have to do if this was a progressive agenda or progressive initiative. It's what we face. It's a reality, and I'm not going to give you or provide them with excuses, because we have the energy, we have the team, and we're going to get this done. So all I'm asking all of you now is to pick up where we left off, if you left off at all. Continue to get signatures at many of your events, at all of your county chapter meetings, if you're part of Stand Up Michigan. If you're a part of any other group or organization, conservative, all of those across the state, make sure there are signatures and petitions available every single meeting and event you have. Go to farmers markets, go outside, get outside like we did for Unlock. We can get this done in a week or 10 days. We can have an amazing celebration, which we're going to have you be a part of in Lansing. And we're going to turn these in, and we're going to immediately put pressure on the Secretary of State and the Board of Elections, because they will have no excuses. And we're going to enact this law. We're going to initiate the law as it gives us the right to do. They call these loopholes, is what the media has done and what the Democrats have tried to say. These aren't loopholes. These are indeed the existing law, of which, of course, they don't seem to need to follow. And there's no accountability for that either. We're done playing games, and we together are going to accomplish our goals. So Secure My Vote is happening. It's just going to happen a few weeks down the road. Whether this is done this fall or not, we're going to defeat Secretary of State Benson. We're going to defeat Dana Nessel. And we are going to retire and defeat Gretchen Whitmer in November. We're going to make sure that every person that you vote for in the primaries in August are committed, if they are elected, to restore the security of Michigan elections. And then they are, secondly, going to vote to limit the health departments with Unlock 2. Unlock 2 also exceeded 340,000 signatures, but did not have the access that we had. We believe at this time, because of the timing and the fact that it can't get on a ballot this year, that we need to push forward with legislation that's going to change this. Therefore, we're going to use the awareness that was created for this. I've had many people come up and send emails and say, oh, I feel so sorry for all the work that the people did on Unlock 2 and it didn't succeed. Look, we did the work, yes, to change the law, but it was to create awareness and to help you identify with what our constitutional rights and freedoms are. And it's woken up millions of people across the state and across the country in regard to what this health department and what our governor did to us. And Unlock 2 raised awareness that not local health departments and not county commissions should not have any say of whether or not your children are wearing masks or you have forced vaccinations. All of those things should be made by you individually. They should be chosen by you and chosen by your businesses, chosen by your as parents for your children. And we are going to enact that as legislation. And those were passed also by our legislators and were vetoed by our governor, as were many, many things by our illustrious, power hungry governor. So we are together going to make sure that she is gone. We are going to make sure that our legislature is elected and is going to be held not just accountable, understand they did do their job in this case. And in an early 2024, we are going to limit those health departments forever because we are going to have legislature enabling us to do that. And we are going to also elect a governor that is going to sign that legislation to make sure that we can not only secure our elections, but that indeed we can also secure our ability to not allow an overreach of our government against we the people, because it is indeed our responsibility to have individual rights and liberties. We choose freedom at all costs, at all times, and forevermore, because it was, again, a natural right given to us by God, guaranteed to us in our Constitution. And it's time for you and me to stand up and proclaim it and speak it boldly, because we are the majority. We indeed are now going to be the vocal majority who are going to get this legislation done and demand that it be upheld, because it is our right to initiate legislation as citizens. We will be creating history because we will have done it in 2020. We're going to do it again in 2022. And the reason they want to now change the laws and get rid of petition initiatives and get rid of these so-called loopholes is because the people are actually taking back control of their government. This isn't going to change, people. We are just getting started. Do not be at all disillusioned. Do not be intimidated or pay attention to MLive or to the media, who is trying to tell you right now that they have abandoned the ability to get it on the ballot. We have no intentions of these getting on the ballot, because we have legislators that are going to be committed and held accountable to voting and enacting the will of we the people. That's what's happening. I appreciate every one of you. I ask you right now, boldly, to stand up, to get petitions. If you have them, get them circulated. If you need them, go to securemivote.org. Look for a hub near you. Stop by and pick up a petition sheet or two. Fill them out at an event that is coming up, or at the water cooler at your church, which many more churches are finally waking up to the fact that they better control and they better protect our religious rights and freedoms, because indeed it has nothing to do with politics. Freedom and liberty have everything to do with individual rights, which have everything to do with what religious freedom and freedom of speech are all about. I am not just in any way, by the way, saddened by the occurrences of today, but I am indeed emboldened. I am emboldened by not just my words, but by your actions, by your support, by your energy and your resolve. We have everything against us. In the Secure My Vote, we faced, are you ready for this? Over $60,000 spent from dark money to pay people not to circulate in the state of Michigan. They now actually have, are you ready for this? Paid bounties to people who circulated in Michigan on Secure My Vote to make sure that they are not hired by any petition circulating firms to circulate on any other issues again in the state of Michigan. This dark money that they want to talk about is exactly what is being used. It is George Soros money. It is Zuckerberg money, and I don't care who the hell else it comes from. They are using this money to literally try and put not just their thumbs on the scale, but because they know the people of Michigan are taking control themselves, they are attempting to do everything they can to thwart the will of the people. And we are not going to stand for it. We're not going to allow it to happen. The Supreme Court in January made a determination that all of a sudden we needed a box on the top of the ballots and would not grandfather in a petition that was already circulating, but instead gave us only 24 hours. And after 24 hours, we had to discount all signatures and all ballots that did not have that on the top that were dated after January 25th. So guess what? Tens of thousands of signatures that came in had to be discarded. We had to throw away all the existing circulated petitions that were out in the field and discard those and print hundreds of thousands more and get them redistributed again in the middle of the winter. I say against all odds. Against all odds, we persevered. Against all odds, they thought we would fail because they would pay people not to do it. They did not believe that the people of Michigan would do it themselves. They have underestimated you. They've underestimated Stand Up Michigan and our organizational structure. And they have underestimated the other grassroots organizations who are joining together to take back control of our government and of course, taking back control of our constitutional rights and liberties. Together, we shall overcome all of these obstacles. The people we elect are to represent us. It is the consent of the governed. It is not the other way around. We do not elect people to mandate anything on us, and we are done with following those mandates. I encourage you, each and every one of you, to get involved in your local community. Do not look for someone else to be the solution. I have people say, all the people that did this, I feel sorry for them. I think everybody should be paid. I've got all kinds of responses in here. Look, this is not about whining of what it is. The sacrifice that we're asking of you is a very small sacrifice. We're asking for a sacrifice to carry around a piece of paper and ask for people to pick up a pen. The sacrifice for Americans and for Michiganders is to pick up a pen and put your name on it. If that is too much to ask, then we haven't sacrificed enough. It is time for us to pick up the paper and to encourage other people to pick up the pen, put their name on it, sign their signature, their date. And together, we can accomplish and change any law, any enacted law that we choose to, because that is indeed in the Constitution of the state of Michigan and existing law in Michigan right now. Election integrity is important, as is the importance of you with your children in schools, and masking our children, and forced vaccination, and shutting your business, and all of the things that happened to us in 2020. And do not forget, and if you believe it's over, it is not. If you believe they're not coming for your Second Amendment rights, you are wrong. They are coming. Our time is now. It will not come again. If we allow this time to slip, because we will not pick up a piece of paper, people will not explain to people the importance of putting their name and their pen to paper, then we will allow our freedoms to go, and we cannot have any excuse, because many before us have suffered much more than we're asking of all of us. I'm not saying this to any of you who have done the work. Many of you out there deserve so much credit, so many accolades and awards, but yet I know you didn't do it for the accolades and awards. You did it for our republic. You did it as an American. You did it for your children and for your grandchildren. Together, we are changing the face of the state of Michigan, and we are changing the trajectory of our country. It starts here. No one will win the presidency without winning Michigan. And you cannot win the presidency without Michigan. The eyes are on us. The eyes are on you. We are the majority. Let's act like it. Let's go forth boldly. Let's reclaim. Let's proclaim. And let's choose freedom now and forevermore. I'm going to continue this on in 5 minutes over at standupmichigan.locals.com. I'll repeat some of this over there. We all know how shadow banned we are over here, and I don't care. We're getting our message out. We're going to send this in an email. And if you are not signed up for our emails, our censorship free emails, you must go to standupmichigan.com. Click the sign in button. If your email is identified, click the button and reset your password, because we've just created a multimedia platform that, guess what, has no ability to be censored or deplatformed. And we've created a self-hosted email service that is going to go into your inbox. You may once have to accept it. Afterwards, you're going to get our information and communication, because we are just getting started. The silent majority is not silent anymore, as somebody has posted here. Join with me. We are taking back our state, and we're taking back our country, one community at a time. Don't look for somebody else to be the solution. You indeed are the solution in your own community. Have a great evening, and I can guarantee you, in only a matter of a few days, I'm going to give you an update of what we are accomplishing, because together we're going to get this done in a matter of weeks, and then we're going to announce this, because I want you to show up in Lansing when we submit these petitions with your American flags in hand, your Choose Freedom signs, and we're going to offer you Choose Freedom shirts, and we're going to gather again to take back our freedoms. Have a great evening. Join me over on standupmichigan.locals.com for more commentary and uncensored communication. Have a great evening, and the fight has just begun.